An organ is a structure that's made up of two or more tissue types that work together to perform a specific, very complex function. Now, these different structures and different tissues have to work together to get the job done. So let's think about the stomach. The stomach contains all four tissue types. It's lined with an epithelial layer. It has areolar and dense connective tissue in the walls, 3 layers of smooth muscle, and nervous tissue. So all these tissues have to work together for the stomach to perform its function. The glands are epithelial tissue, and they secrete the chemicals that are needed for digestion of the food products we eat. The connective tissue holds all the blood vessels in place. The nervous tissue supplies the stomach and, of course, helps to cause emptying of the stomach. The smooth muscle contracts and relaxes so that it mixes all the contents of the stomach. And then, as I mentioned, the nervous tissue helps the stomach to empty its secretions, but also or empty its contents, but also to aid in the secretions of the glands that are located in the stomach. So again, organs are made of tissues, but they all have to work together to get the job done. Body membranes are made from epithelial tissues that are bound to an underlying connective tissue. These membranes line body cavities or the surface of joints, cover organs, and cover cavities within the body, or cover the body's external surface. So we have 4 types of these membranes: mucous, serous, cutaneous, and synovial. Here is your overview. Now we're going to take a quick look at each of these. So mucous membranes are called wet membranes. So if you look at this picture at the top, they line body cavities that are open to the external environment. Now they connect to something called the lamina propria, which is the connective tissue that holds these epithelial membranes in place. So we find these lining, again, things that are open to the outside. The digestive, urinary, respiratory, and reproductive tracts, they all open to the external environment. The function of these mucous membranes are absorption, protection, and secretion. Okay? Your cutaneous membrane, that is your skin. It's a dry membrane. It's not covered with mucus. So it covers the external surface of the body as a protection between the internal environment and the external environment. Because it has layers of keratinized stratus epithelial tissues attached to connective tissues, it helps to prevent water loss or excess water gain, but also helps to provide a protective covering between the outside of the body and the inside. The third category of body membranes are the serous membranes. Now, we've talked a little bit about these previously. So your serous membranes are going to be the membranes that line closed cavities. Now remember, we saw mucous membranes line those cavities that are open to the outside. So think of them like glue traps. They sort of trap things so we can get rid of it if we need to, but it also provides that moisture for those membranes. Serous membranes are also wet membranes, but they're not open to the external environment. So the simple squamous epithelial layer is called the mesothelium, and it sits on connective tissue that anchors it in place. You have 2 layers of these serous membranes. The parietal layer that lines the cavity or the space. The visceral layer lays on the surface of the organ. Remember, we saw the parietal pericardium lines the cavity the heart is in, and the visceral pericardium lies on the surface of the heart. The space between them is the cavity that is filled with serous fluid that prevents friction, because the heart, the lungs are always moving. So we have these serous membranes. Remember, we saw 3 of them: the pericardium, the pleura, and the peritoneum that lines the abdominal cavity and organs. And our fourth category of membranes are the synovial membranes that line some of our freely movable joints that are found in the body. So you've got squamous epithelial attached to areolar connective tissue, secreting synovial fluid, which comes from the blood. That synovial fluid is very much like egg white in its appearance and composition, so it's very slippery. It reduces friction because it's found when you have bone coming together with bone. So this is a joint. A joint is simply where bone meets bone. So your synovial joints have this synovial cavity filled with synovial fluid. It also not only cushions and reduces friction, but it provides nutrients to the cartilage that lines these long bones.